What's up, guys? Welcome back again to your Heroclix headquarters. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Avengers War of the Realms set, just breaking it all down, reviewing it, and we're going to start with the commons for this one, and then we'll hit up the other rarities in the next few videos, so join us for those. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so starting us off at number 1, we of course have Thor, basically the title character of the set, though he's not a title character, don't get me wrong there. This is just the number 1 common Thor. He's coming in at 75 points, and he's got the shifting focus trait, which of course lets him, as a free action, if you begin the turn on the map, you can replace him with another character with this trait on the same click number. So the same shifting focus trait we've seen 100 times before, but it's always fun to see again. And for just your basic Thor, you know, 10 movement, charge, and flight, 12 attack, quake, 18 impervious, 4 damage. He's got double target too, so if you don't want to quake, you can just double target. And now if you quake, you hit everybody adjacent and it'll only do 2 damage no matter what. But if you double target, you can just kind of, you know, swing at somebody that's got a 20 defense and somebody that's got like a 17. So, you know, maybe you have good odds of hitting the 17, but if you hit the 20, you know, you can do all your damage to them, however you want to do it. It still gives you a lot of options there. Which is nice. And now he's got 7 clicks, then he goes into some sidestep, toughness, close combat expert, which on his last click he's going to have a 12 attack for 5 damage, which is pretty nuts for only a 75 point character. So I think for just your basic brawler, he's a good all-around common, and if you have the shifting focus pieces, it gives you that option to swap out to something else as well. Alright, and number 2 here, we have Captain America common. He's got the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. team abilities. He's only 60 points. He also has 7 clicks of life, which is pretty long for 60 points. 6 range double target, but he starts with charge, 11 attack, 18 with energy shield deflection, and 3 damage with leadership. No traits or special powers or anything. So this is just your basic average Captain America, and you know, for 60 points, you can't really complain. He's got a long dial, he's got good stats, he's got move and attack on every click. He does also bring you the shield team ability and leadership, so, you know, he's a bit of a team player there. It would be nice if he started with running shot instead of charge, just to combo better with the energy shield, but it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing really much to say about him. You can't really complain with the 60 points, he's fairly cheap. But he's nothing game-breaking either. He's just kind of another common Captain America. Alright, number 3, we have Vision, another shifting focus figure. And we've already had shifting focus visions in the past. They were 50 points, and this one's 65. And honestly, I'm not sure why we're getting another one, because the other ones were so good, but you know, a modern take is fine too. Now this one has a special movement power that says when Vision is given a move action after resolutions, you may deal an adjacent opposing character 1 damage. And I love that it's called Come In Like a Wrecking Ball. That's hilarious. Now, I just noticed it doesn't show here on HC Realms where I'm looking at these, but he does have improved movement blocking. I just double-checked my card over here. So he has improved movement, destroys blocking, so he can actually move through and destroy walls or blocking squares, and so that's really cool, just to kind of get that out of the way, and then, you know, if he moves adjacent to an opposing character, deal them 1 damage. So it's really cool that he can, you know, just run through like walls and blocking terrain and stuff, and then after the resolutions of his movement, you can deal a free damage to an adjacent opposing character. Now it does just say an adjacent opposing character, so I'm pretty sure you're going to have to pick one. You can't just like deal it to 3 or 4 of them. But I mean, even so, you know, that's free damage is free damage. And 18 impervious is pretty good defense, you know, 10 attack, 3 damage with close combat expert, so we're talking 11 for 4. You know, not bad, 65 points. I feel like I still prefer the old versions better, which is weird, but this one definitely has its uses for sure. And up next at number 4, we have Scarlet Witch, common. Now this is honestly one of the best figures in the set, hands down. She's only 30 points. She's got Avengers team ability, 4 range, flight, 10 movement, 10 attack, 17 defense, 2 damage. Nothing special there, but she does have probability control and telekinesis, 2 of the best support powers in the game. But then she has this amazing special movement power that says phase teleport, passenger 3, but only to carry characters that share a keyword with her. And she's got Avengers, Latveria, Mystical, and Young Avengers. So great keyword options there. Avengers is always good. Latveria has tons of options right now, especially when you factor in, you know, the Doom the Annihilating Conqueror that can bring in like cosmic and past and future and stuff. So lots of crazy stuff you could do with her there. And I feel like Latveria was missing a good taxi figure to carry like 3 or more characters around. So she's great for that. Yeah, I mean, for 30 points, you get Passenger 3, you get TK, you get Prob, and, you know, with the Avengers team ability, she gets the +1 to movement to carry those characters around, so that's an 11 square carry. So, yeah, you can't go wrong with this 30-point dial at all. She does a lot for your team. You know, carry them all up. Next turn, she can TK one out. She can prob the attacks and everything. So, just one of the best figures in the set, hands down. But up next, we have the Executioner, who's coming in at 90 points. Got Masters of Evil team ability, which is not bad. 10 movement charge, 11 attack, 18 invulnerable, 4 damage. So, just your average close combat bruiser type guy here. He's got a long dial, 9 clicks. He's got lots of steel energy for most of it. And then that flurry in the middle there too, so he can actually heal up almost to top dial. 3 damage, 4 damage, most of his dial. Damage reducers the whole way. All in all, just a good brick of a figure right there. So he's not too bad, but up next we have Black Panther, who's coming in at 45 points, Avengers team ability, 4 range, 9 movement stealth, 11 blades, 18 defense with the combat reflexes is good with the stealth, because I always love combat reflexes and stealth, especially with like an 18 defense, because that means they're going to have to hit a 20 up close. 11 attack with blades too, so he's got, you know, good odds of dealing damage. He's got 11 attack his entire dial, which is pretty crazy. And then he gets some flurry and outwit on the last half there. So for 45 points, you know, what more can you ask for? He's got traded leadership as well, which is great. And he's got the rally trait for friendly attack rolls. If you roll a 1, you can put a, you know, die with a 1 on his card. And then when an opposing character uses leadership, you may remove one of his rally dice to replace the result. So you can make them fail on their leadership rolls, which is interesting. Nothing game-breaking or crazy, but it could come in handy, especially if you have, if you happen to be going against one of those characters that, you know, generate figures when they succeed at leadership. So, you know, not bad. I mean, for 45 points, just with the stats and the leadership and everything, I think he's pretty solid. Now, up next, we have number 7, Loki, and this is one of the commons you absolutely want to get as many of as you can. He's got 6 range, he's got Mystic's team ability, which is awesome. 50 points for stealth, super senses, and prob, and then he gets a few clicks in the middle of sidestep, energy shield, and outwit. But his trait here, illusions and trickery, during forced construction, you may only add a Loki at 10 points if you also have a Loki starting at 50 points on your starting force. For all characters with this trait, if you have 2 through 4 Lokis on your force, action total +1. If you have 5 or more Lokis on your force, action total +2. So that's nuts. Basically, you play this guy at 50 points, and then you can play 4 more of him for 10 points each, and get +2 actions. And that's, I mean, that's good enough as it is. But then you have 5 characters on the map that all have Mystics, that all have stealth and super senses with an 18 defense. That all have a 10 attack, 3 damage with 6 range to actually shoot from the stealth, and, you know, the prob to be just re-rolling everything. I think that is crazy. I definitely need to get my hands on a few more of these Lokis, and you can play more of them too. You don't just have to play 5, you can play 6, 7, 8, as many as you want, fill the map with them, and then just watch your opponent have to take Mystics if they want to hurt you. So I think just for that alone, the fact that, you know, your opponent's going to have to take Mystics if they hit him, they all have a decent enough attack and damage, and defensively, you know, 18 super senses and stealth is good with the prob. You know, offense or defense, you got a lot of probs there. He's giving you tons of extra actions, and this isn't leadership, so you could get +2 actions from all the Lokis and then have a leader and then get another action, so we could have 6 actions which is just crazy. Another one of the best characters in the whole set, hands down, right here, is this Loki. You just need like at least 5 of him to be good, but if you can get at least 5 of him, he's amazing. Even though all the 10.1s only have 1 click, like I said, everything that they bring to the table is definitely still worth it. Moving on, next we have Spider-Man, number 8 in the set. He's coming in at 60 points. He's got Spider-Man team ability. 4 range double target is nice. 11 movement charge, 11 attack quake, 18 defense, and 3 damage with outwit. He's got improved movement for elevated, which is really nice, and then he's got a trait that gives him super senses, and friendly characters that are adjacent or have the Avengers keyword can use super senses. So he's got full dial of super senses, and if you play him on an Avengers team, he's given your entire team super senses for 60 points. And on top of that, he's got, you know, a good dial, decent stats, good charge range there, especially with the improved movement. He's got some outwit as well, so he's given a lot to your team, and he's a decent, you know, close combat attacker as well. And, you know, good keywords: Avengers, Champions, Shield, Spider-Man, Family. Even if you're not playing him on an Avengers team, he can still give it to all the adjacent characters, the super senses, that is. So even if you just throw him onto a Shield team, you're giving everybody super senses that he's adjacent to. And a lot of Shield characters have Avengers anyway, so you could do some stuff there. Now, I don't see him being as useful on a Spider-Man family team, because everybody on that team usually has super senses anyway. But for Avengers, he is one of the best figures in the set. But moving on, next we have number 9, Hulk, who has 75 points. He starts with Sidestep, 10 attack, 17 combat reflexes, 3 damage. Nothing amazing to start with, but he does have traded invulnerability, and friendly characters that are adjacent or have the Avengers keyword can use toughness. So that's great. And then if he takes a hit, you know, he goes into that mid dial there with the big speed values with charge. He's got some quake and especially close combat expert, so we're looking at 11 attack 4 damage or potentially 12 attack 5 damage. And on his last couple clicks with regen, he goes to flurry with 12 and 11 attack, with exploit weakness for 4 or 3 damage. So he's definitely doing massive damage in the middle and end of his dial. And you know, it's just a classic Hulk dial. You know, he's kind of okay, just moving up, doing whatever on his first couple clicks. He takes a hit and then he gets mad and then he smashes. And I also love that, you know, most of his dial is green and then it's got the purple there, you know, because obviously green and purple are Hulk's colors, so that just works so much better now that Close Combat Expert can be used with charge and stuff. It would have been nice to see a little bit of a steal energy on those flurry clicks so you don't have to regen to keep him alive. Or a stock click would have been really cool too. But, you know, that's where the traded invulnerability really helps. He's got combat reflexes through most of it, and he's got the regen, but you're still going to have invulnerability for all of that. So that really helps. And I think giving everybody toughness has much more use than you might think at first. Especially if we're talking about like a more meta game. And I'm not saying this Hulk is meta. For 70 points, maybe not quite. But just the fact that you can give everybody toughness on like an Avengers swap team, I think he has some use there. Because there's a lot of teams right now, like Animal teams and X-Men teams, that just have like 2 or 3 maggots. And of course, if you don't know what he does, he can spawn the little eeny and meeny bystanders, and one of them can poison right away. So there's not a lot of characters now that have tons of reducers, is kind of the thing. So if you can give everybody toughness, you can kind of counter just being moved up and poisoned to death. So I think he has his use there, but all in all, I don't know, I kind of like him. I think he's a fun Hulk, especially for, you know, 70 points. If he was a little bit cheaper, if he was like 50 or 60 points, maybe he could have been meta. If he had charge top dial, maybe he could have been meta. But I still think he has some use on the sideline. Anyway, moving on, next we have number 10, Nebula. 50 points, I think she's pretty solid here. You know, she's got a trait that gives her free heal 1 click. And she's got a dial that just alternates between running shot, penetrating blast, and energy shield deflection, or stealth, blades, and combat reflexes. Now, if the stealth clicks were charge, she'd probably be a little bit better overall, but the stealth is pretty nice too. And yeah, I mean, she's got the new Guardians team ability, so your opponent can't lower her stats at all, which is pretty nice. But they could still just straight up outwit your energy shield and combat reflexes, so you gotta watch out for that. But yeah, I mean, as long as she doesn't get just outwit and blasted for 5 damage right away. She's got some staying power with the healing every turn, and she's got definitely some damage dealing potential there with all the blades and penetrating blasts. So I think she's a solid 50-point character. And moving on next, we have another one of my favorite commons, Black Widow. So for 50 points, she's got sidestep, combat reflexes, and outwit with a 4-range triple target. Improved movement for characters is nice to be able to get away if she needs to. And she's got traded stealth, and friendly characters that are adjacent or have the Avengers keyword can use stealth. So again, giving an entire Avengers team stealth is amazing. Has multiple applications. Oh, not to mention she's a team player. I almost forgot that. So she can copy other team abilities that are useful. And, you know, she has stealth herself. So stealth and outwit and combat reflexes and sidestep to keep positioning herself is great. Copy, like, shield team ability or something to help out the team some more. And, you know, I mean, she's got 10 attack, 3 damage with triple target. So she should be able to hit something once in a while at least. And then late dial, she gets charge and close combat expert. So again, she'll be going up to like 11 attack, 3 damage there. So definitely be able to pull her weight. For only 50 points, just giving her entire team stealth is amazing. So one of my favorite commons in the set for sure, and one of my favorite Black Widows as well. Probably like number 4. If I had to put her in my top 5 Black Widows, I don't think she disrupts my top 3, but she's at least number 4 for sure. But yeah, she's an amazing character as well to have on the sideline for like Avengers swap teams, just in case. And just even to throw on your team, I mean, having stealth is great. So yeah, 10 out of 10, like that Black Widow a lot. Moving on next, we have Hawkeye. Now this is Kate Bishop Hawkeye, and she is another one of the best figures in the set, I think, at least as far as common attackers go. She is definitely up there. Being only 50 points, she's got an 8-range triple target with a 12-attack penetrating blast for 3 damage. And on her special movement power, she's got running shot and sidestep. So she could either, you know, sidestep and running shot in, giving her essentially a 6-square running shot with an 8-range. Or she could running shot in and then sidestep back behind cover, you know, into hindering, behind another character, whatever. And then, you know, she's got energy shield deflection in her whole dial, so she's pretty well defended from range. Then she goes into some sidestep and energy explosion. And just her whole dial, she's got high attack, you know, some good damage dealing options, some move and attack options. So for only 50 points, I like her a lot. And, you know, if you're playing sealed with this set still, she's an amazing pick for sure if you pull her. Up next, we have Blade, number 13 in the set. He's 60 points. Your average charge blades toughness kind of guy there. He's a team player, so you can potentially copy something. 6-range double target as well, so he can shoot. Get some flurry there and some regen. 3 damage the whole way down is pretty nice. But he has a rally trait, which opposing attack rolls of a 6, you can place that die on his card. And he's got traded steel energy as well, so with that flurry on the back half of his dial, he could be healing up quite a bit. But then the other half of his trait says when Blade would be KO'd by an opposing character, you may instead remove one of his rally dice, and if you do, turn him to click number 6, Protected Pulse Wave. So he can just not die, basically. If you give him a couple rally dice, it gets really hard to KO, and then he can just either flurry steel energy or regen off of that. Click number 6 and just keep on going, keep on doing his thing. So he's got some good survivability, he's got some good damage potential, and he's got one of the best blade scopes I've seen yet. So I do like him quite a bit. Not as much as the Blade super rare we got in Captain America and the Avengers a couple years ago, but he's definitely up there. Up next, number 14 in the set, we have Hercules, and he's got an 11 movement charge, 11 attack, 18 impervious, and 3 damage with close combat expert, so we're talking a 12 for 4. He could grab a light object on the way with his charge and hit somebody for 5. 100 points is quite a bit though, but he does have a decent length dial there and some flurry steel energy on the back half. And improved movement destroys blocking is really nice, so he can just bust through those walls and punch somebody. And he also has double target too, so don't forget about that. He can double target up close now. And also worth noting, he has Guardian's team ability, so your opponent's not going to be able to lower his stats at all, which is pretty nice. Now 100 points is a lot. But he does have a secondary point line at 65 points, where he starts off with that plasticity there. And I think actually for 65 points, you know, just running up there and tying up your opposing characters could be pretty fun. And then he can just punch on the next turn with the Close Combat Expert, and he can still do a lot of damage. He can still heal up with the Flurry Steel Energy if he takes a hit. So, you know, for 65 points, he at least makes a nice kind of tie-up figure to just run in there and disrupt your opponent a little bit. But for 100 points, you know, he's a pretty decent close combat fighter. So nothing too crazy or special, but he's fine. Moving on next, we have Lady Siff, who is pretty amazing as a close combat fighter for only 55 points. Lady Siff here starts with Charge, 11 attack blades, 18 invulnerable, 3 damage with leadership. So your average charge blades piece, but you know, 18 invulnerable for 55 points is pretty good defense, and then that leadership as well that she brings. But on her rally trait here, friendly attack rolls of a 1, she gets a rally dice, and she has traded flurry there, so she's going to have that flurry her entire dial, but then as a free action you can remove one of her rally dice to make a close attack. And what's cool about that too is you can actually charge flurry blades, and if you happen to roll a 1 in one of those attacks, you could put that 1 on her card and then just remove that to take the free action to make another close attack. So for that, you know, is pretty great. It kind of gives you a self-prob kind of thing. But, you know, being able to make 3 close attacks, too, is pretty nuts. I mean, there's a potential you roll a 1 and still hit, because you could roll like a 6 and a 1 and still hit at 18, right? And roll for blades, do some big damage, remove that, you know, take a free action to attack again if you didn't already kill something with the flurry blades the first time. She's got tons of damage potential, is what I'm getting at here. And move and attack the whole dial there with some sidestep. So she's got a lot of damage potential here, being able to make 3 attacks and everything. And if you look at her dial, I just love how it goes from, like, you know, invuln toughness, combat reflexes out of nowhere, back to invuln. She goes from leadership to close combat expert, back to leadership, then to exploit weakness. You know, it's kind of random there, charge blades, then to sidestep with nothing, but it's just cool because it really reminds me of like an old school dial where there's like one random click of a different defense power, and you know, things go back and forth, and there's different patterns in there to her dial, which instead of so many dials nowadays just have half running shot penetrating and energy shield, and then they're half, you know, sidestep, energy, explosion, toughness, whatever, just things like that. So this is just kind of a more fun dial. You could land on some weird clicks and do different things. And I kind of miss that about some of the older figures, you know? So for the fact that she's only 55 points, can attack 3 times, do tons of damage with all the blades or whatever, and is pretty well defended and, you know, decent amount of life there. So I think this is one of my all-time favorite, like, close combat common figures, especially just in this set alone. But even overall, I really like her a lot. And last but not least, for the common figures, we have Spider-Man, who is coming in at 75 points. He's got Charge, Quake, Super Senses, and Exploit Weakness. And the cool thing about that is you can combo the Quake and the Exploit, so you could do 2 penetrating damage to everybody adjacent. He's got improved movement for elevated and traded energy shield deflection and toughness to go with that Super Senses right there. And then late dial, he goes into some sidestep, incapacitate with 6 range double target, and some outwit. So yeah, 75 points, I think he's a pretty solid Spider-Man all around. Late dial, he does dip into a 16 and even 15 defense, but when you got energy shield, toughness, and super senses, you know, he's got a lot of layers to his defense there. So I mean, even on his last click, he'd have still a 17 from range with super senses and toughness. So that's not horrible. I can't complain. Now, he's 75 points. You know, he's got 7 clicks of life. I think, you know, he's kind of top heavy, though, because of that. Because of the way his stats really kind of fall off there on those last few clicks. But as long as you can keep him safe, top dial, he can run around, do a lot of damage with Quake and Exploit. And, you know, it shouldn't be too hard to keep him safe. You know, it is pretty hard to get past Super Senses, toughness, and energy shield deflection. Not impossible by any means, but it does give him good layers of defense there. So overall, he's not too bad. I do kind of wish he was like 65 points or something, just a little bit cheaper, you know. He's definitely not my go-to Spider-Man, but, you know, I can't complain too much. I think he's pretty decent still for the point cost. So, but that does it for our commons so far. There's a lot of great commons in this set. There's a lot of kind of high cost close combat figures that are you know, they're fine, they're whatever. But there's also like a lot of really amazing figures like the Scarlet Witch, the Lokis, and also the Lady Siff. You know, she's a close combat fighter, but for 55 points, I think she's better than all the like 90 and 100 point ones that are at least in the commons. So some really cool figures. Oh, also Hawkeye, another great range attacker for only 50 points. So really, really cool stuff there. But that's going to do it for this common review. If you guys liked what you saw, make sure you smash that like button. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on all the commons in this set. And don't forget to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't miss a future video. And if you guys would like to help support the channel even more, you can check the links in the description for our Patreon, where you can see your name here in the credits, as well as some other cool stuff. But that's going to do it for this one, so thanks again so much for watching. Until next time, this has been Heroclix Headquarters, signing off.